All right. Good evening, everyone. Today we have Mr. Colin Houston. He has an extensive experience in teaching and education. He holds a PhD in education and human development from the University of Colorado at Denver. Colin not only is a certified instructor for the Nurturing Fathers course, but he has also gone through this program as a participant. He has raised two sons and is currently raising two daughters. While not a Colorado native, he has enjoyed every bit of life in Colorado Springs since moving here in 2010 from the East Coast. Today, we also have the awesome opportunity to have the son of the person who developed this program. His name is Corey Perlman. He is a speaker, consultant, and nationally recognized marketing expert. He recently launched his third book, Authentically Social, which became a 2024 Amazon.com bestseller. Marketing pays the bills, but fathering is his true passion. He's facilitated over 10 Nurturing Fathers programs, six of which have been held behind the walls of the Atlanta Federal Penitentiary. He co-hosts the Nurturing Fathers podcast with his father and loves spending time with his beautiful wife and two amazing children. Welcome, gentlemen.
Did you want me to start, Colin?
Awesome. Yes, Corey. Yes, if you would. Thank you everyone
Okay.
for your time today. And yeah, let's if hear from Corey.
Okay. Thank you so much. Well, thanks everybody so much for being here. It's so great to see all your faces, and I'm coming beaming into you from Utah here, Salt Lake City. I don't live here, but I was speaking here this week, and I've got my son up in the hotel room. So I wanted to come and spend a few minutes with you all, tell you a little bit about the Nurturing Fathers program, and then kick it over to Colin for the rest of the evening. So as was mentioned, my father created this program. His name is Mark Perlman, um, and when my dad was becoming a father, there was really a disconnect between nurturing and fathering. Fathers weren't allowed in the delivery room. And fathers, their role were really to, pay the bills and kind of the typical roles that we remember from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and so on. And my dad really wanted to chart a different path, but that's the path that he learned from his father. And so when he had my brother, he and my mom, my dad just kind of fathered the way he thought he was supposed to father, and he disciplined with fear, and he with anger, and he used his hands a lot early on. And one day, my brother was sitting at the table with my dad, and they were eating breakfast, and my brother spilled his milk, and he went to go. My dad went to go grab the milk to clean, before it hit the floor, and so he reached his hands out. My brother flinched. And my dad just stopped for a moment, and he just thought to himself, my God, this is not the relationship I want to have with my son. I don't want my son to fear me, and I don't want fear to be the fabric of our relationship. I need help. And so he went out and looked for help, and he couldn't find any. So what he did is he did his research. He met Stephen Bavelek from the Nurturing Parenting Program, and he developed a program specifically for fathers. And the whole concept is to find tools in our toolbox that we can discipline our children, steer them in the right direction, help them grow and be successful, all without using fear or violence. And so the program is a 13-week curriculum. It's very high touch, meaning that you will do a lot. You won't just listen to us, but you will actively participate. There's homework, and what we help you do is just fill more tools in your toolbox for being a father. As mentioned in the bio, I've had the opportunity to facilitate multiple programs. I've had many men come through the program. And let me just tell you really quickly about these men. I've had them come from prisons, as was mentioned. I've had them come from blue collar, white collar, all across the country. And they've all come in a little bit guarded, a little bit like, I don't know what I'm getting into, but they all leave at the end of session 13 So happy they were a part of this program. There's a brotherhood that's created amongst the men going through this, and there's a respect that they have for themselves, and that we, Colin and myself, the facilitators, have for them, because there's a lot of men that are outside my door right now who would never be on this call tonight, would never go in there because they don't think they need it. They don't think that there's opportunities to improve being a father. And so every one of these men I have my utmost respect and love for, because they opened themselves up to this program and they grew as men and they grew as fathers. So that is the Nurturing Fathers program. Um, I am, again, so happy that you all are here. I can stick around for a moment. Maybe if there's any questions, or Colin, if there's anything I didn't cover, feel free to let me know and I'm happy to do so. But thanks again for you all being here. And I hope you get the opportunity to experience the Nurturing Fathers program.
Awesome. Thanks, Corey. Yeah, no, I think you really touched on it, and I think that's important just for people to recognize how this came about. That this wasn't it was experiential from someone. They experienced something, they realized something, and then they took action.
That's
And
right.
so I think that's important, and to hear it from you, I think is also very important, and it gives sort of credibility, but also just light to what it is that the program is seeking to achieve. So no, I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that, and I think we have pretty much everyone in here. So I'm going
And I'll
to.
just quickly call and tell everybody that as I mentioned, my son is upstairs and we're going to go and explore Utah. So I don't mean to exit out on you all, but I would normally stay, but I'm going to go spend some quality time with him. And there's no better excuse than to be able to hang out with my son. So I wish you all the best. I will, if you want to put my email address, I'll do that really quickly in the chat. If anybody has any follow-up questions, they're more than welcome to ask. So before I leave, I'll put that in the chat. But thanks everybody for having me. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. That's great. And so definitely, you could always get in contact with Corey through Deborah or myself. Um, but definitely, it's awesome. He's if you have some specific questions that you'd like to ask him, obviously he has a different perspective on the whole system, having being the son of the founder. So definitely feel free to use that, and it's just a great resource to have. So excellent. With that, there we will get started. So let me go ahead and share my screen. So I just want to talk a little bit. We're going to get right into it. There's, as Corey had mentioned, it's usually a 13-week program. When we do it at Parents Challenge, it's because 13 weeks is pretty difficult for some people to commit to. We do about half of that, which is a 7-week program. And so tonight, the goal is really just sort of to introduce you to a particular topic that we tend to go over, and really sort of build um, a discussion around certain aspects of the program. And so, as we are going through this, I would hope that you recognize this is going to be an interactive session. For those of you who are familiar with Zoom, we will be using breakout rooms where we have small groups, people talking, um, sharing their ideas, discussing um, different beliefs and feelings that they may have. And so I'm hoping and expecting that you're going to offer your opinions. I'm hoping and expecting that you're going to ask me questions or ask the participants questions. You can utilize the chat feature, or if you do have a question, feel free to raise your hand or make some sort of motion. I have several screens, so you may notice I'm looking around, but I'm pretty much able to notice if you're raising your hand or something. So definitely please participate. And as we go into breakout rooms, when we come back, I'm going to ask people to maybe share a summary of what was discussed, some of the ideas that came out of it. All right. So, along with sharing your opinions and your ideas, of course, that means that we should recognize that people have different opinions, right? Um, People may have some views that are different from ours. And it's okay for us to have a different view. So a respectful disagreement is fine. We could have different viewpoints on something, and that's fine. Okay. And it's important, just as we discuss things, we have to recognize that our way is maybe not the best way for every person in every situation. And so, as we're having these discussions, definitely share with each other. It's okay to offer different opinions, but just recognize that people are in different situations. Um, and what we think might be best may not be best for that person. Okay. So, um, Corey went through this, but this is what we have in a book, which how we, when we think about what is the purpose of nurturing fathers, this is a quote that is in the book that we use. And the idea is that the Nurturing Fathers program is created to cultivate and support the attitudes and skills for male nurturing. So just as Corey was saying, um, many men um, have learned ideas of fathering, which sometimes not even clear how it came about. The um, there's obviously some of those things of men don't cry, or as Corey mentioned, men weren't allowed into the birthing room at hospitals, and so society and culture has imputed certain ideas or beliefs of what fathering is. And so the purpose of the course is to support attitudes and skills. It's not necessarily to make you start thinking a totally different way, but to look at what is nurturing and what does that look like and what is the attitude and what are the skills that are needed for that. And then the hope is that it's going to benefit not only the men, but the entire family, women, children, people in family relationships. That being said, the Nurturing Fathers program is not only for fathers. Um, it is primarily focused towards men, but I've had people who are their grandparents. They're not raising children anymore. Of course, they obviously have children, but they're grandparents or their uncles. They don't have children of their own, but they are maybe a father figure. And so the Nurturing Fathers program is for males. It's geared towards males, but it's not that the person participating has to be a father. All right. So with that, what I'd like to do is, in order to get started, I'd like for us just to do some simple introductions. Maybe, obviously, surely tell us your name, um, maybe how many scholars, children you have in Parents Challenge, how long have you been a part of Parents Challenge, and if there's anything else you'd like to share, that'd be great. And so I'll start. So my name's Colin Houston. I've been in Colorado. When did I come out here? In 2010 from the New York City, New Jersey area. Um, I have four children and two boys older, two girls younger. One is a senior and one is a sophomore at CSCS. And I've been with Parents Challenge, wow, for a moment. At least 9 years I've been associated with them because they were really young. So at least 9 years. Yeah, I go to Japan quite often. I do some things out there, And I just enjoy talking with people. And I've been able to do this program. I think I first started it as a participant, I think 3 years ago. And so, yeah, I really do appreciate all of you being here. And then we have our facilitators, um, the parent challenge coordinators here, and I'd like for them just to introduce themselves before we move on and get everyone else. And so maybe Aaron, if you want to just start.
Yeah, hey, I'm Erin Valora. I'm your coordinator. Hello, here's a face. I'm glad you guys are here. I've been with the program for 4 years, and my husband was able to take this last spring, and it was really good for him. He enjoyed it a lot, so I hope you guys will too.
Awesome. All right. And then Aisha.
Yes, my name is Aisha Young. I've been with Parents Challenge for 7 years, and I am a coordinator. I'm nurturing, but I'm not a father, and I'm a single parent, so I'm happy to be in the space to learn of some other things that I can do to be better, and also be of support to my friends who are single fathers and males.
Awesome. And we'll just continue across the screen. I have Ken next, Ken Clark.
Hey, yeah, I'm Ken Clark, and I've had three kids with Parents Challenge. I'm trying to think. I'm a veteran, so I don't know exactly how many years, maybe 7. But yeah, my greatest honor in life is being a dad. You know, it's something that really means the world to me. My dad died when I was young. He took his life, and just being able to be present, with my kids, it's the ultimate, So sorry, sorry to cry there.
No, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. All right. And then it looks like David Martinez. David Andrew.
Hello. Yeah, my name is David Martinez, and let's see, I have 2 kids. One does go to CSCS, um, and another is homeschooled as well. And God, I think we've been on 4 or 5 years in Parents Challenge, so it's been good for us. I'm very thankful for it. I'm here in Colorado, originally from San Antonio, Texas.
Awesome. Great. Thank you for sharing. All right. Then looks like Jeremy Jackson.
Hey, I'm Jeremy, and I have 2 daughters. One is in college, but has been in this program, and of course, one is currently in the program. So I think we've been involved about 3 years now.
Awesome. Great. Thank you. All right. Joseph Holman.
Hi, my name is Joseph, and I got 4 boys at home. This is my first year in Parents Challenge. My oldest 2 are going to a Evangel Christian Academy here in Colorado Springs, and we homeschool them for the first couple of, and my wife homeschools them until they're first or second grade age, and then we get them going into the Christian Academy there. We're originally from Washington State and moved into Colorado Springs in 2018. And that's we like it here. And this is my first year in Parents Challenge, so I'm new to this.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks for sharing. That's great. You said 4, was that right? Awesome. Great. Thank you. Salom, is that right? Cotton?
Hey everybody, my name is Salom Cotton. I have 3 kids. One just recently graduated, so that means I did something right? I've been a part of Parents Challenge for about 2-3 months, so I'm new to the system, and been in Colorado a little over a year, so just excited to be here.
Awesome. Great. Well, thank you for sharing. All right. And it looks like Sam.
I'm Sam. I've got 3 kids. We homeschool. Been a part of Parents Challenge maybe 4 or 5 years. My wife Jessica is actually a parent coordinator now, so maybe some of you guys know her. But yeah, happy to be here.
Awesome. Great. And how many children did you say?
3.
3. Awesome. Okay. Thank you, Sam. All right. So someone under Bryant is the last name. It says Laura, but I don't think that's a Laura. You're muted still. Well, when you get that mute button off, we'll come right back to you. So, Jonathan Porter.
I think I'm unmuted.
Yeah. So I think
Dennis Bryant.
Okay.
You have it
All right,
under
so-
Laura. Sorry.
Okay.
I'm using my wife's account. Sorry. And I'm
No
trying
problem.
to do this on my phone.
All right.
I have 2 girls. One's in college. She's going through Parents Challenge. And I have another one that's a junior at the university school. And we've been doing it for a handful of years.
Awesome. All right. $2. That's great. All right. Thank you. And then I guess we can try it, Jonathan again. I think you are unmuted, but I don't know if your microphone is connected for the Zoom. Yeah. So you have to choose the you may have to choose your computer mic or something.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Been doing Parents Challenge for like about a year. Found out about it because we need some funds to help with homeschooling our child who's highly dyslexic. I have one daughter. She's wonderful. She's trying to catch up with her peers though. So been working on that.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. A year, you said. You said a year? You've been around, right?
I believe so.
Okay, awesome. Okay, great. Thank you for sharing. All right. The next, I don't know. It says iPhone. That's you.
Okay. All right. My name's what?
Oh,
Are you
okay, well,
there?
Kyle, you could go.
Okay. I'm sorry. Is it on iPhone or does it say name?
It says Kyle.
Okay. I'm sorry. I thought it was mine that said iPhone. I apologize.
No, that's no problem. You could go ahead though.
Okay. All right. So my name is Kyle Wyatt. This is our 2nd year with Parents Challenge. We have 3 children, a junior, a freshman, and a 4th grader through the Parents Challenge. So greatly appreciate the program and the involvement, and appreciate those that have started the program, and give another way for parents to be active and involved in their children's life and at their school. So thank you.
That's awesome. Right. And what year was this? I'm sorry, I missed that.
This is our 2nd year.
2nd year. Okay. Great. Thank you. All right. All right. Luke, so you've changed it up for us. Awesome.
Hello, my name is Luke Feynman. Yeah, I didn't realize that it was in there under iPhone, so sorry.
It's all good.
I've got 2 kids. I've been with Parents Challenge for, I think this is the 3rd year. My son graduated last year and is in college this year. And my daughter is a freshman at Evangel Christian Academy. I'm born and raised in Colorado Springs, so I'm still here.
Awesome. Great. Great. Thank you so much. All right. Looks like Chris. Chris Malcolm.
Yeah, my name is Chris Malcolm. I have a fourth grader at CSCS, and this is my fourth year with Parents Challenge, and originally from Nebraska. Came out here in 2006, so
All right.
just happy to be here.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Awesome. All right. Thank you, Thomas.
Yeah, my name's Thomas Rizzuto. This is my wife and I's second year with Parents Challenge. Very thankful and grateful for that. I have a 7-year-old daughter and a 5-year-old son. They are both at CSCS as well. So, yeah, thank you guys.
Awesome. Great. Thank you. And then looks like Don.
Hi, my name is Don, and this is, I think, our third year with Parents Challenge, and we love it. And we've got two older kids, 18 and 20, and the 18-year-old was a part of Parents Challenge. Now we've got a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old who we're kind of running through the second generation. So we're happy to have this resource to help us out. Happy to be here.
Right. Excellent. Okay, thank you. All right. David. Yes.
Hey, everybody. David Reyes. I have 4 amazing kids, and one of them has been with Parents Challenge now for about 3 years. So she goes to the university school and been in Colorado Springs since 2001. Met my wife here and love it here. It's a fantastic place to be. So glad to be here.
Perfect. Thank you, David. And then I don't want to destroy the name, but Kadichi?
I thought it was me. My name is Karuchi Sierra, and I'm a grandma, 11-year-old boy. This is our third year in Parents Challenge. Love it. I'm not a father, but I'm a father figure and a mother figure for him. So there's always something and room to learn and expand, and the more the better. Thank you.
Awesome. Great, thank you. All right. Tevin.
How y'all doing, man? My name is Tevin. This is our first year with Parents Challenge. Got 2 little ones, 1 daughter, 1 son, 6th and 4th grade. And yeah, me and my wife both grew up here in the Springs, and obviously happy to be here and just happy to have a community like this that we can help, push our babies to that next level, because both of mine are homeschooled as well. So they're just moving along that path and doing what we do. So we're happy to be here.
That's awesome. All right, thanks for sharing. All right. Skip. James Melton.
Hey everybody, my name is James Melton. I've got 2 daughters. One's a sophomore, and then my other one is a 6th grader. And I've been doing Parents Challenge, or we have, for 4 years. I think this is year number 5, and it's been amazing. It's been an amazing help, and I just, I don't know, really proud of my daughters, and really thankful for the program. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. All right. Matt Devine.
Okay, here we go. All right, I'm Matt. I have 4 kids. 3 are in Parents Challenge. Oh, sorry, 2 are in Parents Challenge for about 3 or 4 years. And we homeschool. And so the ages are 17, 16, 11, and 1.5.
Awesome.
and we moved here from Indiana, and we've been here 5 years.
Okay. That's great. Thank you. All right. William.
Yes.
Oh, so you're introducing yourself.
Hi. Name is William Grayson. Well, my children, my baby is 24. My oldest is 37. I have 5 girls, 3 boys. But now my wife and I found ourselves taking care of our 20-month-old grandson, who we've had now for a year, still going to court. And I'm trying to learn different ways to discipline him without always looking to spank him. So we've been doing different things like offering him when he's acting up, try offering him something to get him to stop and calm down. But I'm looking forward to learning something different. My daughter told me to try this group,
Awesome.
and she's in Colorado. I'm in Maryland.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thanks for joining.
Thank you.
All right. And then David, we got you. Nahimana? Yeah. Nahimana? Yeah. The mute button. So this is going to be on your bottom left, the little mute button with the microphone. Maybe while you're doing that, how about Caesar?
Hi, I'm Nareda. I'm Caesar's wife, and the reason that I'm on here is because he doesn't speak English. So I will let him introduce himself in Spanish, and I'm gonna be with him throughout the session, and I'll be translating everything for him.
Okay.
Mi nombre es César Díaz. Tengo viviendo 8 años aquí en Colorado Springs y tengo 3 hijas.
His name is Cesar Diaz. He's been in Colorado Springs for 8 years. We have 3 girls, one in high school, one in middle school, and one in elementary school. This is our 2nd year with Parents Challenge.
Awesome. All right. Well, great. Well, thank you all for sharing it. So we're going to jump right into this. Obviously, we don't have much time, but I think we get some good discussion going. And so the first question is, what is a father? That's just an open question. What is a father? What is a father? Yeah. For example, can you tell us one thing that you would think of? Go ahead, William.
Sorry, did you say William?
Yes.
Okay. Father is a protector, provider,
Okay,
and
protector, provider.
teacher.
Protector, provider, teacher. Okay. Someone else?
Father is a leader, a teacher. Yeah, that's pretty much what I got.
Okay. Leader, teacher.
He's a voice that speaks identity, just speaks into the heart of kids and lets them know who they are, where they come from, and where they're headed.
So speaks identity. Okay.
On top of everything else, the better answers, I would say he's a provider.
Okay. Provider. James, thanks.
Those are all great answers. I totally agree. And I'd also add that somebody who's present. He's there.
Present.
One of my dad, he passed away when I was young too. He was a great friend. I think a father should be a friend to his kids.
Friend. Awesome.
I believe we live in a time where the word influencer is used quite rampant across the internet. I truly believe that a father is an influencer of his children and his family.
All right, that's awesome. Maybe one more. Someone else.
Shoot, I'll take it. I think a father should be kind. You know what I mean? A lot of times the dad role is meant to be tough and the protector and the discipline and the, judge, jury, and executioner. But I think being kind is what we really all need to fall into because it helps open that bridge between, the top level of parenting to the, what is perceived as the bottom level of children. It kind of makes it, level.
Okay, awesome. So thank you all for sharing. And so that leads us to this next question that I'd like for you to talk about in some smaller groups. And it's, how did you learn to be a father? So we've named these things. We said, okay, so it's, speaking identity, friend, kindness, a leader, a teacher, an influencer, being present, kind. We've said these things, but how do we know that? Where did we learn this from? And even more specifically, where did you learn to be a father? And so I'd like for you to share that in the breakout rooms. And when we come back, I'd like to hear maybe a summary. So when you get into the room, if someone could agree to maybe to just take some notes on it that you're going to share, and maybe we'll keep these groups throughout the session. But if someone could maybe take notes, at least for this first one, and share what people name. I'm going to put this in the chat so you have it as well. Let's put this in here. So that when you go off to the breakout room, you'll remember what it is. So how did you learn to be a father? Okay. So I'm going to open up the breakout rooms. And for those of you who may be new to Zoom, you have to click on the button to enter the breakout room. Okay. And then after a few, maybe like 10-ish or so minutes, we're going to come back and get some answers on this. Okay. All right. So rooms are open. I'm going to assign. Here. Aaron, I don't see you in the in the participant list.
I'm just going to add myself with the other females,
Yeah.
Aisha and
Okay. Good.
Karuchi.
All right.
Okay.
Yep. That's awesome. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, looks like we're all back. So on this topic, how did you learn to be a father? Let's hear some of the things that came up. So start, I guess, with room one. So Jeremy, Don, David, Caesar.
Here we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So for us, it was collectively, I think we all agreed on seeing role models, male role models that we either looked up to or that we saw that were good things that we wanted to copy, or bad things. We're like, hey, no, I don't want to do that. You know, if I'm a dad, I don't want to copy those things. We also agreed on social media, movies, you know, things like that, where we picked up on things, TV shows, movies, things like that, of how a good role model father figure, how they act and how they handle things and things like that. We try to duplicate. And then I think that's it. I think I nailed it. But yeah, I mean, that was pretty much what we kind of touched base on, where we learned how to be a father.
So that was interesting. So you said by seeing other good models, you talked about movies. And so I guess when you say movies, I guess movies that portrayed what we would see as a good father figure. Is that what you're referring to? Things like that?
Yeah, I think just to give you some names, I think it was Andy Griffin or Bill
Okay.
Cosby, you know, things like that. And for me, it was, you know, shows like Family Matters and Home Improvement and things like that. And then, you know, just personal experience with, you know, either neighborhood friends, their fathers and how they reacted and things like that, and just different male role models that we had growing up, that we kind of picked up along the way.
Awesome. And then you also mentioned social media.
That's what I mean by that is just the TV shows and things like that.
Okay. All right. So, all right. So with response to that, did maybe anyone in the other groups is we're going to come to all of you as well, but um since we brought up that social media piece, movies, did anyone else mention that in their groups? Ah, yeah. Can put in Little House on the Prairie. Yeah, that's right. Little House on the Prairie. That's awesome. Yeah. All right. Okay. But yeah, definitely. It's interesting because as we think about how do we take on these fathering practices, it does seem that the society attempts to portray positive father figures. The as a whole, as a culture, that seems to be something that we want to portray as a culture. Yes, David.
Sorry, I left out like the main one. Is our own personal fathers themselves. I think Don, if I'm saying it right, I apologize if I'm saying that wrong. Don, he, you know, he mentioned this. He had a pretty good dad growing up, so he had a front row seat to a good father as well. So that was another thing that we mentioned. Sorry.
Okay. Great. Yeah, thank you. All right. Well, yeah, let's keep going. Room two. It's Jonathan, Ken, Luke, Tevin, Dennis.
We mentioned movies as well as trial and error, just trying to figure it out as we went.
in the movies. Yeah, that's good. Trial and error. Why do you think trial and error happens? Like, why does that occur? I mean, I would say that, maybe there's always going to be some level, but I think for some people it's more than others. And this isn't necessarily just for you, Jonathan. This is a general question.
Well, that's just how you are when you're a human. Everything in life is trial and error.
Can you
I
agree
think
with
it's
that?
also
Mhm.
it, dependent on children too. So like what works for one of my kids may not work for the other. So you kind of have to kind of go back to the drawing board and saying, okay, what do they respond to? What don't they respond to? So I guess in that sense, I would say that's kind of a trial and error as well.
Okay. Mhm.
Yeah, like in our group, there was just a really profound kind of overlap. Everybody was talking about just the relationship with God and looking to God as our Father and drawing on that as our model. I know for me, the Father heart of God has been the biggest, thing to fill the void of where there was lack. We had really good discussions. It seemed even more defining what a father was, but
Mhm.
yeah. And then just a thought as you were sharing, Thomas, I just kind of thought about, trial and error and the difference in kids. Also, a father kind of has to balance out their partner, their wife. It's like my wife has tremendous strengths, and we're very different. And as a father, I feel a little bit of a where she's not able to do, I'm able to do. You know what I mean? And like meet the needs of each individual kid and balance out the relationship that my wife and I both have with them.
Awesome. And the other balance is, again, there's benefit, right, to having that. Of course, single parents exist, and you could do a great job. Um, but there is benefit to having that support, especially if you're on the same page with these things. And so that's another topic for now. But yeah, that's awesome. Thanks, Ken, Thomas, Jonathan. Room 3. Oh, there, James, Joseph, Kyle, Sloan, Thomas.
Hello. So in our group, it was kind of half and half as far as let's see, James and Thomas and Lyle, they all had pretty good dads to learn from at home. And then me and Sloan we didn't have good father figures. And so we kind of learned more what we didn't want to be as dads when we were growing up. Whereas, the other guys had great dads at home to kind of lead them. But all of us in the group, I think, kind of look to God the Father also as the ultimate teacher and kind of how to, you know, fill in the gaps as far as how to be a good father.
Mhm.
Um, I think that pretty much covers our group, I think.
Yeah. And so you bring up obviously an important point, which is it's not really a dichotomy, but the two different possibilities, right, that you could have. And I mean, really, maybe there's even three. You could learn from a father and realize this is great. You probably don't always notice it when you're younger, but as you get older, you're able to reflect on it and like, these are good things. This is how I want to be. Um, but you could also see that and think, okay, I'm not going to do that. That's I'm not going to raise my family in this way. Um, and so that's definitely it's a different perspective and how we view that, the lens that we have, and obviously um, what that does to our mind and how we handle that is going to affect our latter years. But I think what a key theme is looking at how my faith overcomes that, how looking at God for most people is how that's going to overcome that's my ultimate teacher. That's my model, right? And so again, it becomes a choice of recognizing that first, and then how do I maybe I need help in applying those things, right? So that's interesting that you brought up that back and forth piece. So that's great. Next group, that's going to be Chris, David, Matt, Nahimana, and William.
Yeah, we pretty much figured out that it's more than just, I don't know, or we thought that it's more than just having a good relationship with your father. It's having outside positive influences, mentors, coaches, anybody else. And ultimately, number one was also, a good relationship with God. And, of course, we did touch on a little bit of trial and error. And yeah, I mean, it's just, there's no written book, to it, but having faith in the Lord, is primarily number one.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So what I'm hearing is sort of from the perspective of now here we are, right? You have children, and of course there's the trial and error, learn from the Lord. Since that's coming up, I want to, before we go to the last group, I want to just sort of ask then, how did you learn to do that? Did that come from was there, if you had, for example, maybe a father figure that wasn't ideal, even if you had a good father who was kind, but maybe they didn't teach you those lines of faith and how to trust in God. So then how did you learn that? Was it just something when you were 10, you're like, okay, when I have a family, I'm going to base my family off of Jesus or God? Like, when did that come about? How did you learn that?
I think that question's answered by a lot of what other people have been saying in regards to sometimes we have other people that come into our lives, or mentors or father figures, who are able to teach us, and we get to, see that example. I always look for people whose stories I want to emulate, whether or not it's perfect. I actually learn a lot from people's failures as much as from their successes. So learning how to connect with God, there's always someone you can look to if you know where to look.
I got my feet wet in children's ministry right after I'd gotten married to my wife, and we were thinking about having kids. I learned a lot in there, starting off and just volunteering at the church on Sunday, doing Sunday school stuff with littler kids. That made me realize how much, I suppose, like some of the things I was learning in church actually apply to parenthood. And then, of course, when I was growing up, the main thing I learned from my own father is, well, he never had a job and never supported us. So I learned I will always have a job and always be supporting my wife and kids. And so those are kind of the two big ones for me.
Powerful.
So there is kind of a manual, or if you want to call it just point blank, a manual out there, and that's the Bible. So, it does point out what a father should do, what a husband should do. It's interspersed throughout. We can see the example of God being our father and modeling that, but it also point blank tells us how we should treat our kids and how kids should behave in respect to their parents and other relationships. So it is there. It's just getting to it and being obedient to what it has to say.
If they're healthy, they could be a point of period with color, posic.
Awesome. Okay, great. So thank you all for sharing. What about in our last group? Aaron, Aisha, what was going on over there? Karachi.
So in our group, we mostly focused on our experience with our father, good or bad, and how that molded us into picking our spouses. And then if it was a bad experience, how we sheltered our kids and help protect them under bad leadership, or vice versa, under good leadership, and how we expect our spouse to respond.
That's interesting. How? And when you say how you expect your spouse to respond, where did that expectation come from? Were you able to identify that?
Well, for me, it came from my father. He was a strong spiritual leader in our home. And he raised us for the most part. He retired. My parents are much older. So my dad had already retired from the military when I was born. And so he stayed home with us. And my mom finished out her career. And so the leadership he provided, the support and activities, the spiritual leadership, taking us to church, reading to us, that's what influenced me. Other people in my group talked about the heavy hand of their father and walking on eggshells when he got home from work, and the long hours that they put in to work, and they were not always available to them.
Right. That's interesting. Yeah, I think Don had mentioned being present.
It's hard when you don't have a father figure around, and if you think about it, that's our first example of what a man is and who we choose later on in life. So you kind of tend to like pick up pieces from, I had a great uncle, he was sweet. He treated me like a father. So I had that support, but he didn't live with us, so it was like, on a weekly basis we would see each other, but at least, he was like there for me for my father-daughter dances because I went to an all-girl school and stuff like that. But ultimately, it's hard for a woman, for a girl to later choose a spouse because she doesn't really have all that, father figure if she didn't have one, or if she did and she had an abusive one, she would eventually pick an abusive husband because that's all she knew, kind of thing. So it's kind of like it becomes generational kind of thing. So it's very important to have good fathers with good examples and who are close to their children. I think that's like, it's so important. Every child needs a father as much as it needs a mother, because I feel we have different roles, but at the same time we complement each other, and it turns into one mission, is to raise a child in the right way and give them everything they need to grow up and be successful in life, whether it's in private life or business or whatever. So it's very difficult.
Yeah, and you mentioned something about the uncle. Yeah, my father, he was kind of there. He wasn't violent, but he had substance abuse issues, and yeah, like I'd come home and it's like, like my piggy bank's gone. I was open the garage door and it's like, our bikes are missing. Sold them for drugs. It was like,
That's
okay,
terrible.
but my uncle was there, and everyone, all the kids loved my Uncle Lawrence, and he was so pleasant. When I had my children, we would go there. We would drive over to his place, and it was like a vacation for my wife and I because he could just sit with the baby, like they were young. He could just sit with them for hours. I mean, he was in his 60s. He's,
Aw,
playing with them, and I'm like, oh, this is
perfect age.
awesome.
Perfect
And
age for that.
and again, but what you bring up is again the point that I had mentioned at the very beginning, which is that it's a fathering figure, and so anyone, any male, in that sense, could take on the role of a fathering figure, even if it's not their children, and so that's a powerful thing.
It's a figure.
Um, as we move on to this next thing here, um, I want us to talk about this. How were you fathered? Um, when we do these programs, again, obviously this is over time, it's over several weeks, but it's interesting when you think about how you were fathered. Um, there's several things that might come out, and so we have hitting, put downs, encouraging, consequences, yelling, expressing love, listening, family rules, praise, hugs, high fives, giving choices. So these are some examples, and obviously I'm showing you this because I want you to talk about this. And before you do, I just want to sort of bring up some points about some of them. I'm intentionally not trying to define these because I'd like for you to think about it within your framework. Obviously, one is going to be hitting. Like, what does that mean to you? Obviously, there could be a lot of different views of what kind of hitting or what that means. Put downs is means just that. So this is a negative speech. Oh, you're stupid. You're never going to amount to anything. You're not going to be able to do that. So when we use this term put downs, that's sort of what we're referring to. Encouraging speaks for itself, using encouraging language. And when we say consequences, I'm going to also let that be open to your interpretation of how you think of consequences. And the same thing for yelling. Um, there could be a spectrum of what that looks like when we say yelling. And again, I don't want to influence the discussion, so I'm going to just say that you could think about that in a spectrum. Expressing love is going to be pretty direct what that means, but maybe how that's done is I'll leave that up to your interpretation. And then listening, when this is written in the book, it's what it's referring to is taking time to listen to the children. Okay. Family rules. This is another thing which could be open to some interpretation, but what we're thinking about and the way that our manual, the Nurturing Fathers Manual, talks about this is actually creating a set of family rules. Again, you might have had some unspoken rules that, like, so in my family, when I was growing up, we didn't have, it's not as though we sat down as a family and came up with some family rules, which is more of what this is talking about. But there were certain family rules like don't talk back to mom. You know, I didn't really get this. I mean, I was spanked not often, but I got a few. But my older brothers, and they, you know, my oldest brother, he's 9 years older than me. He tells the story of being at my grandmother's house, and she was from the Caribbean, and he had said something, and like without warning, just a backhand came and knocked him off the stool that he was on. Like there was just no, it was just wham. And you know, that was, you know, how things were done. And so there was a rule that existed, which was, you know, don't talk back to, you know, these adults. But when we say family rules here, the way that the book is actually thinking about it is, did you have a structured family rules where maybe the family, your parents came together or whoever you were living with came together and said, this is what we're going to do as a family? And if not, feel free to talk about what rules might have existed, even if they were unspoken. And then praise. Did you were you fathered with praise? Did your father speak to you and praise your efforts? Um, was it consistent? Was it just every so often? Um, Hugs, high fives, pats on the back. And so this is the physical representation of maybe the praise or the showing of affection. Did these things happen? And then giving choices. When we say giving choices, um, it's 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 talking about providing options. Did you have options? Did they it's not that maybe you may have thought you had options, but was it ever presented to you? Did your father or the fathering figure take time to say and sit down with you and maybe talk about, this could be something, this could be something. For those of you who've had children maybe go to college, we sort of sit down and we talk about options. But um, even when I reflected on this, I had to think, did I actually do that a lot with my kids? Maybe when they were younger, I don't know if I did. Um, I did to some degree, but I think it might have been limited. And so these are the things that I'd like for you to think about and share with each other in the group. I'm going to put this into the chat so that you have these um, words here so that you can refer to them. And if there is something else that's maybe not listed here, that please feel free to maybe discuss those things. So I put these into the chat. And then something else that I would like you to discuss is definitely, share. Um, Talk about the practices, maybe at least 2 to 4 that you could pick out. And I would like for you to share, how did those things affect you? How did they affect you? What was their contribution to your growing up, your fathering style? And so let's take some time. I guess I'll put this in the chat as well, so that you could have these questions. But yeah, please take time to share this, and someone please take notes on it, and then we'll come back. Rooms are open. All right. Wait, let's hear it. So,
Back, Colin.
can you hear me?
Yeah, put us back in the room.
Oh. We're gonna get to hear. All right. We're gonna go back soon. So, let's see here. Actually, I should share my screen also so we can look at those things. All right. So let's go in reverse order. So, see, that was Chris, David, Matt, Nahimana, and William. What was happening there?
Colin, I'm just going to tell you, there's just not enough time to answer all those questions.
I know.
I think a lot of what we were talking about, you know, in a nutshell, I think what we wanted to answer
Mm-hmm.
was hard to answer because we don't want to paint the picture of our father being a bad father.
Mm-hmm.
Really, it's just them responding to the pressures of being a good father or wanting to be a good father. Just for an example of, you know, yelling or hitting or whatever the case may be, it was just a reaction of the pressures of trying to be a good father and not so much of who they are. If I hope I'm saying that right, just respectively to everybody, but I think as a group, it's and for example, I mean, there was rules. I think we all agreed that there were rules that we followed, but we knew who was in charge, and we knew if Daddy had to step in, like that means that's it, like that's the final straw. And unfortunately, that probably had to come with either some yelling or maybe some tough love or what have you. Um, but yeah, I think we all could relate to a lot of these things on the list.
Mm.
But it's hard to pinpoint exactly how we were fathered.
Sure.
Because a lot of them were, I guess, better word, a cover up for a lot of other things that now, as we're older, looking back, is like, oh, we get it now. We get why, you know, there was a short fuse, or why, you know, they got upset for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
And it's trying to portray, going back to what we were talking about earlier, was, you know, how the media likes to portray, you know, different life events that may occur. You know, if somebody gets injured or what have you, they don't really portray what really happens in life, what a man has to go through, the pressures a man goes through. So yeah, I hope I hope I represented our group good in that manner, but that makes sense. I hope that makes sense, guys. Yeah.
Yeah, and I when I stopped in the group, I remember, I think I caught a part where several of you were saying, right, you recognize where some of this was coming from. Like I heard that being noted, and again, like you said, we're now obviously we can't unpack this in 10 minutes, 15 minutes, right? But part of the Nurturing Fathers program is to begin discussion of it. It's amazing what comes out of. Again, this is I think uh, um, just if I think about when I came to Colorado, I came to Colorado because I went to Bible college. That's what brought me out here. I was in New Jersey, and I was debating about whether I'm going to um, be going back to Japan or go to Bible college, and I came to Bible college. And part of the learning and the thinking came from discussing topics, discussing these things. And so there's a lot of power in coming around other people, other men, and discussing fathering things, fathering practices, the historical view of how we got to where we are. And so, yes, just by talking with it in your group, you're recognizing these feelings of, it's not, I don't want to paint my father as an evil man or in this way. And yeah, these things happened. And so, I totally understand what you're referring to, David. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah, let's go to the next group. James, Joseph, Kyle, Sloan, Thomas.
Hello. Well, we kind of had, same thing as kind of the first session as far as like, it depends on, the fathers we had at home and as far as which things we experienced and whatnot. Um, it seemed like there was a little bit of commonality as far as like the I think both James and Lyle and kind of had a little bit more distant fathers that were, not big on praise or anything like that. But did show them, and good work ethic, showed them how to work and and me and Sloan, we just kind of we had more, we didn't really have a lot of good influences and kind of experienced the whole gambit of all those different types of things that are on the list as far as well, I mean, I think we all got spanked when we were growing up. I think everybody in our group did. But as far as I probably had a little bit more of the put downs and stuff like that because I had some really bad stepfathers and Sloan had to deal with some of that stuff because he had um his mom had some boyfriends that weren't that great and stuff like that. But it kind of all of us kind of we learned how to be tough, seems like, either in a good way or a bad way. And that I would say that the praise was probably lacking the most from all of our like father figures and things like that. Anybody in the group, feel free to speak up and add anything if I've not gotten it all.
I guess you got it. Right. And again, that's something that we recognize, and I think you mentioned this in the beginning part in the first when we came back from the first breakout room, and you just said that. But right, those things that you don't want to take, that you don't want to bring on or pass on. And so definitely, that it makes a lot of sense to me. Awesome. Okay. So next group, that's going to be Jonathan, Ken, Dennis, Luke, Tevin.
I think like a big point that we drove home in our group was like our fathers definitely could have been more present physically. Seemed like we had a lot of workaholics, and things of that nature, some absentees, but also the emotional example or lack thereof was a big thing that I think we kind of drove home to, realizing as we got older and had our kids of our own where we were lacking, why we were, making the correlation why we were lacking in these certain departments when it comes to our kids based off of the example that we had before us. But also I think another point that we drove home as well that I think who was it? Let me talk that David and the other group was talking about was like not necessarily trying to demonize these men based off of their actions, but also realizing that they were doing the best with the knowledge or tools maybe that they had at the time, but we were taking the time to learn to learn to actually give our kids the leg up to not have to kind of necessarily go through these same learned behaviors, that recidivism that seems to go on between these father and son relationships in the areas that we lack. So it was just the understanding of the true understanding of like that perspective I think that we all have of like these things happen in our childhood, and they either motivated us to go this way, or they're another thing that we have to learn from just based off of the example that we had. So it was definitely that emotion, those emotional examples, I think was a big point that we drove home on ours as well. So
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, I have some thoughts on that. Okay, but we don't have time, so but that's good. Thank you. All right. Jeremy, Don, David, Caesar.
You want us to go again?
Oh, did you already?
Yeah,
Oh,
you had
sorry.
mentioned
The
you
it
mentioned a
switched.
group, and then we jumped in.
Yeah, it was the wrong David. That's what happened.
Oh, my bad.
My bad. Yeah. So,
Actually, I forgot to mention Jeremy. Jeremy actually mentioned this in our group. Is just having, you know, grace on our fathers, because they did do the best they could with what they knew at the time. So yeah, I want to throw that out there too, just kind of piggyback on, I forgot his name, but the gentleman that was just talking right there, but just having grace.
That's awesome. Yeah. So right, yeah, that was so there was the William, Chris, David, that group, that other group, the other David group of Matt.
Matt?
So yeah. Oh yeah, right, because he was going to be the speaker for you, right?
Yes, Matt.
Matt, are you there? Looks like we lost him for a bit.
Not Matt.
So I guess it's on one of you other groups there. One of you, William, Chris.
Hello.
He's back. All right.
Sorry about that.
There you go. Oh, that's right. He had to put his computer on charge.
Yeah, right. He had said that.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, I lost connection. Let me just say them real quickly. I gotta pick up my daughter real quick. So we got in the group, we got encouragement but absent. We got a kid parent, so somebody who was a kid themselves had to raise his sister, I think. No highs or lows but absent. Great memories. And then we have verbal and physical abuse. A present father and teaching them. And one of them was a present father teaching them to love God and learn how to work.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, I want you to focus on driving, so I'm gonna let that go for now. Awesome. All right. And what about if, Aisha, Aaron, what was going on over there?
Well, we talked about the father figures and things like that. Again, we had both sides. One had the father, other ones didn't have dad. But just like they say, like it takes a village to raise a child. In my experience, every male in the family played an important role, whether it was a grandfather or an uncle, and they all had different views and different methods of everything. And basically you picked up a little bit from each one, you know? Like my great grandfather, my mom told me, like, you know, he was kind of, they had to kiss his hand. Like he would take out a coin, give it to the grandkid, and the grandkid would, you know, kiss his hand. They were patriarchal, you know, because of their culture or whatever. The men were not the nurturers; they were the providers and the enforcers. So some of us grew up with that view of what a father was supposed to be, but we had step-ins at all times because the family was always very in touch, like, you know, an extended family that stayed in touch every week kind of thing, you know. Like I remember visiting all my uncles and stuff at least once a week, you know. Um, so it was kind of like I didn't get spanked. I didn't do because I didn't have that. I didn't have a dad to do that. But I had, uncles that were very important. They were Marines and they were very, gun ho. They were like, ha ha ha, everything this way or no way. And so it takes a village, pretty much. There's not one particular one. Like all the men here in this course tonight, they each have different experiences. They all learn something different, and at the same time, we're learning from them, listening to them. So I think it's these kind of courses are good because what you don't have experienced, you could find from another one who has experienced it, you know? But again, my growing up time is way different than it is now. I'm in my 60s, and things were very, very different. The father was not the nurturer or the oh, sweetie, sweetie. No, they were like the enforcers, the providers, the representative of the family, like you didn't embarrass them, you didn't make them look bad. It was kind of like, you were their reflection. So they were strict in that sense. And now it's different because men are more, because the family has had to where like they both work, so everybody shares the job of raising the child. It's not just the mother staying home or it's kind of like a shared thing. And back then it wasn't. So it's kind of hard to put it together, but you can tell the differences in time, how things have changed. I
Okay.
think it's for the better because the father is more involved now, has better knowledge of their children in that sense. It's no longer wait till your dad gets home. You know what I mean? It's kind of like everybody's there already. I don't know if I'm explaining myself well, but it's kind of like not fathers are not absent this time around. They're pretty much involved as they weren't back then.
And I hear you talking about sort of a generational difference, right? Because there was
Yeah.
a thing of where, yeah, fathers were, and we've heard that mentioned where, yeah, they were working, they were doing different things,
Yep.
and yeah, we've heard that before. Wait until your dad gets home, you know.
Exactly. That's all we used to
And
hear. It was like, oh my God. It was like a
it
fear.
is,
Oh my God, my dad's, oh my, I'm gonna get,
and
but
so,
it's not like that anymore.
hmm,
So, which I think is better because I think it creates a better bond with the father this time around. He's not just the enforcer or the family rep. It's more like he's hands on. They're more hands on now. It's what
yeah,
how I see it now, and I think it's a better thing for children because you know parenting is a two parent thing, and I think the child should be able to go to either parent and express themselves or have a bond, and I think it's very important. From what all we've been talking now, I can see how important it is to have a bond with a father. Every child deserves and needs a father, and especially a male son too. My son learned from going to military school. That's how he got his, growing up with a male example. His coach. I told him, I said, take him as if it was your son. Whatever you need to do, you let me know when you've done with it. It's like I gave him carte blanche to my son's upbringing in a sense, because he used to board there 5 days a week. And this was by his choice. He wanted to. He needed the male leadership that as a woman, was not able to give him. And, unfortunately, I was raised by a mother who refused to give me a stepfather. She's like, nope, I don't bring a man home, and I will not give him my children's. And I did the same thing with mine. Nope, this is my home. This is my children's home. And I don't, impose any man on my child. I
awesome.
was taught that way. So
Well, yeah, that's great.
yeah.
Appreciate you for sharing. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot in that. And so Thank you. Thank you for everyone for sharing. And as we wind down, I just want to bring this piece up here, because as we think about again, what is Parents Challenge and what are we doing with our children and as they're moving on, out of those fathering practices, and that's what we refer to. So all of those things that you were just discussing, the encouraging, the expressing love, listening, family rules, and such. Uh, the Nurturing Fathers describes that as fathering practices. And so I just want to bring up the encouraging point as we're closing out, because, and maybe just take a few thoughts and opinions and ideas on this. But when we think about encouraging, what does it do? Um, we find that it instills a will to succeed. When we encourage um, children, they start to have a desire to want to succeed. Seems sort of 1 + 1 = 2, but we don't always think about that. Another thing that when we encourage, we find that it helps them to, they start to have a desire to take risk. They have a will that's like, I'll try this. You might notice, and I can't remember, maybe this was 2 years ago, Deborah mentioned this, but it was at one of the beginning meetings. So yeah, it must have been 2 years ago in 2023, maybe, or 22, that you have now a lot of this younger generation. They're not necessarily thinking about doing traditional jobs, but rather they want to try and build something, to create something. Um, there's a lot of reasons for why that happens, but when we encourage children, they start to get on this feeling, this, okay, I want to try more. I want to take more risk. They also want to grow. When we encourage them, they want to learn more. They want to develop their skills. They want to try and grow in their knowledge. We also find that when we uh, encourage, they want to learn. And so, sort of the difference between the grow and learn is that the learning starts to become more of a calculated, like they'll watch a million YouTube videos to try and learn something. When we talk about growth, there's this desire that they're going to do it. When we encourage them, the result is that they grow, not necessarily maybe in a book smart way or in a book learning way, which is the learning part, but there's a growth in their knowledge, their understanding. And some of that is based in the risk as well, this desire to take risk. But there's another thing, which is they have a big increasing in their tolerance for failure. They are not, when you encourage children, they are not worried so much about failing. And I want to leave some time for us to do the survey. But just maybe like if someone could speak to these things, like as far as encouragement, the importance of encouraging children. What are some
Well,
views for that?
oh well, I homeschool my younger kids, and I noticed, like, as I encourage them, like say my middle child, I encourage her to read, and every time I praise her for the good that she's doing, I find her on her own time, and she's 8 years old. Like, she will grab a book. She'll be up early in the morning, just start reading on her own, then come show me what she's learned. Like, she has desire, a drive to want to do it. So I can totally agree to what I see on the on the screen right now. All these things really are, when you encourage, all these things really do take place.
Yep. Someone else? Thanks. So
Yeah, I've just, in raising three different ones, each with different personality mix, different charismas, different things. One thing that's consistent is they're unsure, and our voice helps them over that threshold of their uncertainty. Encourage as you put courage within them, and you show them how to get through those things. And then as they grow, there comes a time when your voice isn't as impactful anymore. So it's just really key to bring in others that you can trust, that they will, really listen to and look to, with just teenagers that are on fire for the Lord, or young adults that are just really seeking to do something with their life and the influence they have on their kids. So maximize the time that your voice has impact, and then build those people around for when it diminishes and there's still a voice for them.
That's awesome.
I think, can I speak?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I think a big part of encouragement is support. I think encouragement has to come with a big backup of support, because when you support the child, like he was saying before, getting a book, and the encouragement is there because he's giving her the support. That he's praising her for what she's doing. Like, she can see that her job, what she's doing is having positive, effects on others, not just her. So as a parent, support is just as important as encouragement. You can't give encouragement without supporting. Like my kids, I would always say, you can be whatever you want to be in life. I don't care if you're a garbage man, but you better be the best garbage man in the world. What you choose to do is okay with me, as long as you are good at it. You you take pride in what you do. Even if it's with my grandson, he makes his bed. I say, wait a minute, that's not how it goes. Do a good job so you can be proud of. Is that something that you would show to somebody else and you'd be proud of? Always, everything you do in life should have that feeling of, pride and encouragement, because you did a good job and you're proud of it. So you have to teach them, that. I'm sorry, that's how I see it.
That's good. Well, thank you for sharing that. And so the last thing that I wanted to show before I turn it back over for you to do the survey is this is voluntary. You don't have to do this, but I would like for you to think about what would be your nurturing father action plan. And so as you consider those pieces that we talked about, the yelling, the expressing love, listening, family rules, praise, would you consider making an email to send to Deborah? Everyone knows who Deborah is, right? I hope so. And again, this is totally voluntary, but I think it would be good. We have sessions and things, and sometimes we have things, we write stuff out. Here, I think it would be good if you could just send her an email. It's going to go directly to her. She's the one who gets the info@parentschallenge.org. Just saying, these are the nurturing father practices that I choose to use for parenting children. And these are the non-nurturing fathering practices that I choose not to use. It doesn't have to be very long, but send that to her. I think it'd really be a powerful thing. And we've even talked about maybe even being able to continue this discussion later. But yeah, this would be good. I'm going to actually, let me just paste this into the chat so that everyone could have that as well. All right. And so, or you could take a picture of it on the screen and send that to her. But yeah, I think I would appreciate it. She would appreciate it if you could send this. And I think it would really be an action to what we've just done here tonight. So I appreciate all of your time, and thanks for being so active and participating. And yeah, Aaron, I'm going to turn it back over to you so you can do the survey.
Thank you so much, Colin. It was awesome. And thank you for your participation. The engagement really made the session a success. I'm going to put the survey code in, or the link in the chat. I do need to check with Kyle. Are you part of the